Hey, Middle-earth role-playing fans, Romadacel back with Bree and the Barrow-downs. This is 8010 of the series, and these are the adventure modules. And this one's from 1984, and it's based out of Breeland, so the villages of Bree, Combe, Arquette, as well as the Barrow-downs nearby. And Bree sits at the crossroads of the northern Dunedain Kingdom, is located the oldest surviving settlement of hobbits. The village of Bree, not far away, the eerie barrow tombs of the cursed Kings of Cardolan. Well, actually, it's more than that. So you get NPC charts, color, layouts of Breeland, Silent Head, the villages of Bree, Arquette, Stadel, and Combe. I knew there was one I was missing there. More than 20 barrows, including the Mound of the Ancient Edan Kings. So that's pretty cool. I'm back in my basement because my garage is just too damn cold. So let's start with this one. So first thing I like right away is you get maps. Yeah, a nice map of Bree on this one, the Bree Hill, and it gives you some key focal points like the King's Rest Inn, which would be where Barliman Butterbur had his Prancing Pony. It's always been an inn. The West Gate, the East Gate, Marketplace, School, Mill, Pond, such forth. Then it also gives you an idea what Combe, Stadel, and Arquette were like, and gives some stuff for that. But Bree is the main focal point. Then it gives you another cooler map. This one actually, a cool map of the Arthedain and Cardolan border. So Bree is sitting on the crossroads between the east-west road and the north-south road. Had Arnor not taken such heavy losses during the War of the Last Alliance, Arnor not split up, and if Angmar had not happened, Bree might have actually become a large city with the populations of the Breeland combining, and it would have been interesting. Because it was an important stopover place on the way to Fornost Urain, Amansul, the eventual Shire, and Cardolan. So this map does connect with other maps from the Arthedain and Cardolan books, which is pretty cool, but I wouldn't want to take that out. I could photocopy it and see how well it works. Okay, like any other, just like a campaign module, it has the guidelines and basic color map key codes, which we won't go into. Gives you the brief introduction of Bree and the Barrow-downs, their history, the settling and refounding of Breeland, war, strife, and plague. Just got to remember, in the Sauron in his war against elves came up as far as Breeland and drove off all the native Breelanders. So these were the ancient Edain, or Edain, who never went across the Blue Mountains into Beleriand, the War of the Silmarils. So they were the ones that stayed on the other side and did not join the fighting. Though refugees probably came back across and mingled with them. There are also Dunlendings from the southern east of the Misty Mountains. And it's the Eriadorian Northman culture. And it goes into the founding of the Kingdom in Exile, Arnor, the eventual War of the Last Alliance, the Arnorian split in 1861, and Bree became part of Arthedain, though it was right up against the border with Cardolan. So it was an important garrison point. Then it goes into Warfare, Strife, and Plague. Talks about Breeland in 1700. And that's what this book is based on, the 1640-1700 period. Gives the neighboring towns of Stadel, Combe, and Arquette, as well as the Chetwood, which is behind Bree. Bree's agriculture, Bree's economy, local prices, which are kind of nice, and then the politics and power in Breeland. So there is a town guard, which by the War of the Ring in Frodo and Bilbo's day doesn't exist. They have a town watch, but little else. But in the days of Angmar, there was a town guard and a small unit of the Arthedain Royal Army. Has the Breeland Moot, which is like the gathering point when they want to discuss something. They have the office of the mayor and the King's Rest Inn, which is the largest building in the village. And like I said, this becomes the Prancing Pony in later years. And we got fairs and festivals, nothing big there. Prominent families and personalities. So it's got the Heathertoe clan, the Green Hens, Thistletons, the Fernwoods, Sandheavers, which is a Hobbit family, the Tunnellies, which are another Hobbit family, and then the Broadleaf clan, which is made up mostly of almost like Easterling blood, swarthy. So they're like the troublemakers of the town. And we have the Captain of the Guard, Menelder, and some other little notable institutions and their keepers. So we have the Bree School, the Miller, the Blacksmith, Carpenter, Tanner, Innkeepers. So you get some figures of note in Bree itself. Next up, we got figures of intrigue, bandits. So we got Cormac the Northman, who controls the who roams the area around Bree. He doesn't really attack Bree itself, because why would he do that? Killing is bad for business, so he doesn't murder people. And he is a Northman. His second in command is Ewick, the archer. And there's about 40 bandits in all. Split into two groups, one taking the Greenway, the other the Great East Road. And they have spies and scouts in the area, and they probably have contacts within in the villages of Bree. So you could use them, Cormac's bandits, in any era. And when I played the Four Kings period, or when I tried to do the reunification of Arnor, I actually managed to co-opt Cormac and his bandits by giving them lands and titles and paying them basically to rejoin and become more civilized. For that you need a big influence role, and was able to use their forces into a new integrated Arthedanian or Arnorian army in Cardolan. You can do something like that. It's an interesting idea to take, offering pardons, lands, and titles to former bandit in the hopes that they turn around and become your allies. So he also mentions Gandalf the Grey wandering around, Helvorn the Ranger, so there'd be one of the Arthedain Rangers in the area scouting stuff out. A merchant, a peddler, and a tinker. So that's the Breeland stuff. Then we go into the number 5, the Barrow-downs and the haunting. So this is really cool, the Barrow-downs. Talks about the haunting of the Barrow-downs, the nature of the Barrow-downs, and the structure of the Barrow-downs. So there's different structures. You have first stage barrows, which are just basically domes, hills. You have the Mound of the Princes, where there's like 3 of them. A royal barrow, which has a little ditch and dike around it. And then a king's barrow, which would have like standing stones. Now, these are based on European models, like Celtic and Anglo-Saxon. I've seen something like this when I lived in South Korea. They bury their kings and nobles under huge mound tombs. Depending on how important you are, the bigger your tomb is. And some of the biggest royal tombs, are the most important ones, or the richest ones, had statues and stuff hanging around. So it's pretty cool. So it's the same idea. Then you have the Wights. It talks about what they are, how you dispel them, how they came to be in their nature. And then it gives a list of major Wights, lesser Wights, and minor Wights. Then we come up to the Barrow layouts, Edain conservatism, and the lure of treasure. And it gives a list of the burials upon Tyron Gorthad. So the Mound of Princes holds the remains of 3 Edain princes who fell in the War of Wrath. The burial vault was erected by a Noldor as a monument to their bravery. It is meant to stand as a reminder of the ties that bind the Edain to Middle-earth. So obviously this is a Merp creation. It's the largest monument upon the Barrow-downs, topped by a large ring of enormous standing stones. And it tells you if it's a major Wight, minor Wight, or lesser Wight guarding the area. It tells you how to get in, a passage in the central chamber, in the tomb of Osterhur Silwi in the first one. And it gives you a list of all the artifacts that are upon them. You gotta remember, Frodo, Merry, Pippin, and Sam all got their knives from the Barrow-wights when they were in the tomb after Tom Bombadil saved their ass. So they all got these nice knives from Westeros. It wasn't Aragorn distributing swords in a tavern, like a Monty Python moment. Strange men delivering swords. Okay, now we go into burial customs of the Edain. And it's going to give you a brief description of some of the tombs and the dates. So you find the tomb of Bregor of 110 First Age, the tomb of Baragud, the tomb of Hama and Belgor, the tomb of Bern, Bjorn, and Baran, and the tomb of Baran. So another Baran. Some of those tombs are unhaunted, and they only hold like 20 gold pieces, while some of these are like 400 gold pieces of gold objects. You can find famous weapons in that. And below you can see descriptions of little ones, and they have the numbers. So the first 5 are mentioning, there's the tomb of Baran right there. It's the empty chamber, which is just a body. Next up we go into the royal tombs of Arnor. So you got 8 kings of Arnor: Valandil, Eldakar, Arantar with his wife Miratar, Tarsil, Tarandor, Valander, Elender, and the last king, Arendar. Arendar was the last king of Arnor. His 3 sons were too occupied in quarreling over the throne to give their father a magnificent funeral. His tomb is haunted by a major Wight. Doorway is 2 heavy wooden steel doors with a stout lock, which is very hard to pick. It's all minus 20. It's a circular chamber 12 feet in diameter with a 7-foot ceiling. Contains the body of Arendar and his queen. In addition, there is 1 large chest. So he's got a plus 20 magic sword, a plus 15 shield, and a plus 20 chainmail. The chest contains about 800 gold pieces of jewelry and gems. So every king is buried with their favorite objects, though. If it's like a famous sword or something like the Ring of Barrow, it's obviously not going to be buried with them. But there's a lot of wealth here. Then you have aristocratic tours, so well-off families would have theirs. The Eldaner family is one of them. They had extensive lands in the Olad, in the contested lands between Arthedain and Angmar. So they have a bunch of tombs guarded by major wights, and this would be a lot of people in their tomb. Then you have the Mendasel clan, 289 to 831, so there's 39, and it's tomb number 39. And they're richer than the Eldaners, so it's a very elaborate tomb. And it's got all their various members. And then the Narman-Nasr Barrow, 267 to 501. Smaller and was abandoned before the fall of the Kingdom of Arnor. It contains the remains of only 10 people, and unlike the two previous barrows, discussed as an actual mound and a lesser rite. Section 6 gives the royal burials of Cardolan. So the Cardolani continue the practice of burying their dead there. So you have Eldacar, the first king of Cardolan. I like how they went and filled out the king list of Cardolan in Rudar. It was really cool. There's a map of the Tomb of the Princess. So you go the passage, you got a round one, you got the 3 tombs. Valandal's, Ellender's tomb, the Narman-Nasr. So you see all the Eldaner, the Mendasel, and Narmasel. So you see how the layouts are. I love this book. This book is so cool on that level. The amount of detail they went into this. Tarambar's Tool, Sirion, Tarandal, Kelamendal, and Tarsil, Tarastor. Finally, Minalcar, who died in 1381 and buried during the turbulent days of the war against Angmar. Barrow is small and hastily constructed and contains little treasure, so it's got one lesser white Hans's tomb. Osterher was the last prince of the Dunedain to be buried upon the Barrow-downs. His barrow was built by the men of Arthedain and the elves of Linden. His barrow may have been the one in which the 4 hobbits were trapped. One lesser white haunts this tomb. So it's got a plus 15 magic longsword of orc slaying, 1 plus 10 chainmail, 1 plus 10 shield, 3 plus 15 magic Numenorian long knives. Should be 4 really. 3 plus 10 short swords, and 500 gold pieces worth of jewelry and other precious items. Because all 4 of the hobbits got a knife. So I think it was awesome that they went through and gave layouts for all the barrows that are there. Next up, they got some suggested adventures. Trouble on the Homestead is the first one, so it's about Breeland, and it's about the bandits at the Autumn Fair. So you have Cormac's bandits against the townsfolk and the guardsmen, and also offers some trolls. 4 trolls take up residence in the area. So perfect timing to go on a troll hunt and also take out the bandits. Adventures on the Barrow-downs. So you could have a recovery expedition to the Barrow-downs. I'll get that in a minute. And the revenge of Finran, who disappeared in the Barrow-downs. So a family's offering 1,000 silver pieces to anyone slaying a white. Highly doubt anyone has that kind of money in that area, but oh well. Adventures in the wild. So the warriors of Bar-en-dindol. This is pretty cool. This is a pretty neat scenario. Bar-en-dindol is the dwelling of the Silent Head. Was once the home of Escalfe, cousin of Cardolan's King Tarsil. And he held sway over the northwestern South Downs and erected a great tower a few miles southwest of Bree from 1271 to 302. In 1409 it was overrun by orcs from Angmar, but much was left undiscovered, so you can use this. So Bar-en-dindol gives you a layout of the tower itself, you can see that, and it's inhabited by a group of bandits. Not by Cormacs, but by different ones. So there's 14 in all. Encounters with wild beast. You get healing and herbs. Non-player character summaries, wild beast. And then another map showing this time more of Cardolan than Arthedain. So these 2 maps, they don't connect. You can pull them out or photocopy them and connect them. Then it gives you a very Bar-en-dindol, the dwelling. And then on the back cover, you got the central Bree. A closer look at it. And that's it. That's the adventure book. This was an awesome book. I loved it. Unfortunately, when I started collecting and playing Middle-earth role-playing, this book was out of print. So I never did find it. I had to go on eBay and look at it, so I never actually got to play it as such. I wish I had, because it's a really awesome book. I love the layouts. I love the backstories and everything. And What I don't understand with the whole Middle-earth thing in Tolkien's world, why didn't they just get Gandalf, Saruman, Radagast, Bombadil, Elrond, or somebody of power like Glorfindel, and someone from Lindon like Círdain, as well as the Dunedain, and eradicate all the Wights and the Barrow-downs. One of the last kings of Arthedain in Tolkien's rough draft, History of Middle-earth, he mentions how one of the last Dunedain kings won a great victory. I think it was Aragost, won a great victory over Angmar and tried to resettle Cardolan, but couldn't because of the fear of the Barrow-wights. So he tried to regain control of Tyrene Gorthad again. So I don't know why they couldn't all band together and get rid of them. My idea was for the reunification of Arnor is a massive expedition into the Barrow-downs, getting Cormac and these bandits in the Bar-en-dindol on your side, eradicating all the Barrow-wights, taking the treasure and distributing it, because you got to remember, you got to leave it for everybody, and you use that wealth to rebuild, help refinance your army, as well as the weapons inside. You could have an elite unit, the thing that Angmar probably feared the most, and that way you have the money to rebuild. You could rebuild towns. Bar-en-dindol could have been rebuilt and used as a good outpost in the Tyrene Gorthad in the South Downs. The money there could have been used to rebuild Amansul. So it is an interesting starting point. Like, you could do that and make a huge eradication program and try and get rid of as many Wights and claim as much treasure as possible. Just remember to distribute it quickly before lest you become one. So that was the idea, like robbing royal tombs. I know it's not pretty, but if you need money real quick, this is a good way to do it. So overall, an excellent book. A good start to their adventure, Middle-earth adventure modules. I wish I was able to get this earlier, but was out of print probably by 86. And I started doing this in 80. I started playing Middle-earth in 88 when I just happened to come across the Cardolan campaign. But anyway, any Middle-earth role-playing fans, let me know if you guys have this book. Did you guys like it? What you guys think? Think it's feasible to eradicate the Wights and use that wealth to rebuild Arnor? It's an interesting scenario. How far could you go before Angmar would react? But leave comments in the comment section. If you hit the like button, if you're new to the channel, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications, because there's lots more to go. Until next time, I'm Barrow-dindol. I'm out of here.